Greetings, friendos. Reformed Stoic. Back with another video, trying to get back in the pocket with it. So I just came across a tweet on X. Somebody's like, I have a good friend. He's 6'2". He works in tech. He makes good money. And he's on dating apps, and he just can't meet any women. He's had girlfriends in the past, and now he's on a dry streak from hell. He's a little bit socially awkward. And people are jumping in the comments, well, maybe he's this, maybe he's that. And then, I'll also account for the people that are like, women are the problem, and women are this, and women are that. People are saying, when you say he's a little bit socially awkward, he's probably like extremely socially awkward, or women today, there's nothing more off-putting to them than autism. One of the comments I saw was that women would prefer a less intelligent, less wealthy guy who's outgoing over someone who has any sort of like introverted social awkwardness, any hint of neurodivergent kind of features. And, this combined with some other things that I've been paying attention to and noticing for a long time, and then, my experience that some people are tired of hearing about, I've come to this conclusion. You have to have not ever thought that there was something really wrong with the world to have success with women. I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like I've had a spiritual awakening / I'm having a spiritual awakening. I feel like these last 4 days I've just been on this weird streak. I just feel like the key to success with women, which, let's be real, most guys, if you weren't successfully brought up in the church, if you haven't successfully integrated with the church or become super religious, I've tried, but it was very difficult for that to override my desire to have success with women, which is basically just sex. I haven't really been able to put it under the microscope that much because I'm not getting any play, so I just keep dwelling on something that's not really going anywhere. But at the risk of tying myself in knots here, I just think that to have that success, you need to have basically never had a point in your life where you don't have any friends and you're getting massively red-pilled for whatever that means for you. And that's clearly fucking exactly hitting the nail on the head for what happened for me. And I feel like part of why I dwell so much on the now distant, buried in over 10 years past, part of why I dwell so much is because I was social, I did have friends, but it wasn't really the right friend group, it wasn't in the right place, I wasn't doing the right thing. I had the more social, everything is fine, low-key, outgoing, less intelligent, less worried about the world. I had that mindset, and I didn't cash it in. But what I keep returning to is I did have some hookups. I did have some meaningless sex. But how much is enough? My body was kind of getting aligned to this idea that I just need to sleep with as many beautiful women as I can. And what my mind has decided is that it wasn't enough, so I'm sad. But trying to kind of pierce beyond my emotions and my wiring, I do keep returning to the conclusion that it's how much is enough? How much would have been enough? If I slept with 10 more women and still had this dry streak from hell and this isolation streak from hell, would have it been okay? I mean, I think the answer is no. I think when you have a period of your life where you're overwhelmingly alone it's just going to be sad if you can't figure out the deeper truth behind it. And I don't really think people can find out the deeper truth behind much of anything in these times we're living in, unless God comes out of the clouds and tells you how it is. And then you start looking at it from like a Descartes perspective. It's like, well, how do I know that thing that came out of the clouds isn't just like a demon that has powers that I'm not familiar with? It's just manipulating me. So that makes it even harder to be certain of anything. Because then at that point, you start questioning miracles and what might seem like divine intervention. But I guess the point, guys, is that if you had a point in your life where things slowed down socially, where you went inward, where, before that point, you were kind of easygoing, you didn't really consider yourself an intellectual, you didn't care. That was me on the money. Like, I was surrounded by people in Boston who, it wasn't uncommon for me to hear somebody brag about their IQ or some sort of a success or status. I was very easygoing. And I've kind of flip-flopped back and forth because, the saying, like, people will see your kindness as weakness. And I definitely saw that. But there was also people who just liked me because I was kind. It was also just, this guy's easygoing, this guy doesn't care, one guy's in the corner, arms folded, they don't realize how high IQ I am. This guy's doing a fucking beer bong and like singing Hillary Duff songs and not giving a fuck about anything. That used to be me. And some people try to call me a virgin and they don't even believe I've had any sex or any success with women at all. That's not true. I don't know how to prove it. I don't really care to prove it. But underneath it all, I have experienced women, even though it wasn't to my liking. I haven't experienced a long-term adult relationship. I've told myself, and I've told others many times, like, I feel like if I could just have a couple of like 3 to 6 month situationship, fling, relationship, whatever, because I'm skeptical, I still have kind of created this base of like conservative religious viewpoint, despite the fact that, I think I'm like some sort of a Marcionite or something. I mean, as a Marcionite, you accept the Gospels as canon and you accept the New Testament as canon, and so that means that the fruits of the flesh versus the fruits of the Spirit still remain, and what Christ taught about marriage still remains. And ultimately, I still come from that base, and I still believe that the reality of the situation is that fornication is degenerate. Sex is meant to be between a man and a woman who are married. But I kind of feel like we're at this point in time where arguably the door has been blocked, like there's been an avalanche and it blocks the exit, and you're kind of like stuck in between worlds, where it's like, man, I kind of feel like MGTOW was right about most everything. I feel like marriage has become a institution of the state, which can put you at a lot of risk. And it's getting to a point where, I'm in my 30s now, and it's like, damn, like I was kind of emotionally attached to this idea that I was going to have a lot of promiscuous sex. And I feel like what society expects of me is to marry a girl my own age who she has had a lot of promiscuous sex and relationships, and I haven't. But, yeah, the main point of the rant of the video, guys, is like, what I went through, what I believe a lot of men have gone through and are going through, which there's a lot of different ways you could consider an awakening. Like, I'm reading this book, American Gnosis, right now, that covers Gnosticism from a bunch of different perspectives. And one of the perspectives of like neo-Gnosticism is that it's merely means that you've realized the system is flawed. Like there's a Gnostic aspect to just realizing that the system is corrupt. And a lot of people might want to bat an eye at that. And yeah, the Bible, regular Christianity does account for a corrupt system. But this idea that, I mean, I see like realizing that the family structure, that your parents are corrupt. And I made a video a while back, the failure of all authority through a Gnostic lens, something like that, like Gnosticism and the failure of all authority. It's like, my teachers in public school failed me. I feel like my parents failed me, even though we're trying to like kind of get to a good spot right now because they're getting old and it's just time to fucking figure it out. It's just time to make everything okay, but and then the government's corrupt and the state is corrupt and everything's corrupt, and you grow up and you sit in your little desk at public school and it's like, oh, this is how the bank works. You go to the bank if you want to borrow money. If you break the law and you get in trouble, the police put you in jail. And politicians, like, what the hell do they even teach you about politicians? Because all I remember anybody saying at this point is that they're two-faced liars and they're manipulators and they're scumbags. But what do they teach you at school? Like, politicians make the policy and we get to vote for them. They're elected officials through democracy, which is the most important thing ever. And maybe if, like, you were young, you're some young Zoomer when some president or elected officials talking about how we're at risk of losing our democracy. Oh no! Democracy good. We can't lose that. But yeah, I'm really spinning quite the web here, and it's going to be interesting to figure out what it all amounts to, because, the premise of the video is that why are men struggling with women? Like, and now they're saying, this guy's 6'2", and he's got a good job, and everybody's just like looking to write this guy off for the most part, unless they're going to blame it on women. But he said that he's a little bit socially awkward. And people are like, aha, well that's it. He's neurodivergent. He doesn't fit in. Women can smell that. Women hate neurodivergent men. They'd rather be with a guy who's less maybe physically attractive, maybe even less tall, maybe less wealthy, but he's more outgoing. And I think that there's something to that, but when you dig to the meat of it, it's just like, you guys, like, I don't think that all men who are struggling with women are having a spiritual awakening, but I think that I am. And I also struggled with women before I was having a spiritual awakening. It's very, very, very clear to me that I was asleep. I was very, very, very much asleep. I was always good at drums. Like, people didn't really talk about me like I was a knuckle-dragging idiot. There was very subtle things about how I carried myself that still kind of triggered that group dynamic against me, but I don't even think I was aware of it. I never got into hard drugs. I never got into heroin. I never got into meth. I never developed a coke problem. And there's people around me who were falling into that. And I caught on that they were resentful, unconsciously. Because once I started consciousizing, conceptualizing, once it became conscious that I was at the whim of a toxic group dynamic, well, that was during the times when I was becoming spiritually awake. And I guess the point of the video is that if you've had any sort of a spiritual awakening, if you ever had a period in your life where you check these boxes, it's like, yeah, things slowed down a little bit. I was in a transitionary period. I didn't have friends, and instead of like quickly finding a new group of friends to plug myself back into, I decided to just kind of hang out for a little bit. It's like, you know what? I've already been like happy-go-lucky, always surround myself with dude bros all the time, always high, always drunk. Where's the party? Where's the party? Let's get a bottle. Let's play Edward 40 Hands. Let's drink fucking Brass Monkeys. Let's do shrooms. Instead of that, let's just like, I don't know, I've been reading some books lately. I've been doing my own thing. Let's keep doing that for a while. Let's see where that goes. And just so people know, when I lived in Vegas, I was on Band Mix trying to find a band. I found some local like emo, screamo kind of band, and they wanted me to like record. They were gonna like pay me to record their album, and I couldn't do it. If I was a narcissist, I could have did it. Y'all remember my live stream in Kodiak? I called up some guy and was like, I could be your manager, bro, and he was ready to pay me. Because I have experience with like A&Rs and people who do development deals. If I wanted to be a scammer, I could. I know how to say shit that makes it sound like I know what I'm talking about. And somebody's like, oh, take my money. Because I know how to tap into that. Because it's like people are desperate to make it. And if you sound like you know anything about these kind of like unknown fields, like becoming a politician or becoming a rapper, becoming a musician, it's like, oh yeah, well, you know, we can hang out and I could take you on as an artist and start developing you. And we could start working on your brand. And that's pretty much all you got to say, dude. If somebody's desperate enough, it's like, oh, where do I send the check? But I can't do it. It's like, I'm not going to take this guy's money. But, oh my gosh, there's so many tangents on this road. There's so many tangents on this road, guys. I just have to keep trying to make it back to the point. Oh, yeah. So I met these guys, and they wanted me to record their album. I was like, I better not. But I went and hung out with them. They lived in a big house with, like, 6 to 8 roommates. They were all in bands. They always hung out. These guys were playing, like, Final Fantasy IX, and everybody's getting high and jamming, and I was jamming with them. And they really, really wanted to be my friends. They were all, like, 20, 21. I was about 24 at the time. And they wanted to fucking get me into their group. And I picked up on some kind of dynamics in the group. This guy was kind of trying to like have a pissing contest with me. And I was being really cool about it. I was just really observing. And I was like, you know what, dude? I already did this. I already did this in Boston, except it was with my peers. And now, like, these are a bunch of 20, 21-year-olds doing what I did when I was 20 and 21. But now I'm 24. And I can tell that, like, I'm kind of, like, headed to a different place than these people. And I blew them off. And I kind of ignored their texts, and it got to the point where they stopped trying to hang out with me. Now, a lot of people are like, well, you're an idiot, dude, and you would have got laid if you would have hung out with them, and you would have got a girlfriend, and you would have joined bands. And there's been times when I look back on that, and I regret it. But I'm trying to go forward at this point. It's like, bro, I've gone in so many circles. I've been like, I made the right decision. It was understandable. No, I regret that. I regret this. I regret that. And people call me out all the time. It's like, Stoic, you're always looking in the past. Why don't you look forward? It's like, because I don't really know what's over there. Like, my life has been very, very, very strange. And I, honest to God, just can't really tell you what's on the other side of all this unknowing. Sometimes I think it's something very amazing. Sometimes I think it's something very sad and mundane, which is a lot like what I'm experiencing now. But the point of the video, guys, trying to wrap it up, is like, if you had a point where you went inward, you started to think a little bit deeper, like me, you were dude, bro, you weren't necessarily stupid. You didn't really know what your IQ was. Maybe you'd heard some other people. Maybe you went to a good college like I did. Maybe you're surrounded by yuppie college kids, and every now and then you'd hear somebody, oh, you know, I got this on the SATs, or I have 130 IQ, or, well, you know, my dad's a lawyer, and you just hear people say this shit, and you don't really think about it the way you do now. Now, you've put life under the microscope for a long period of time, you've read some books, you've tried the self-help, the self-improvement, your mind has expanded. You're in a different place now. But the way that I used to hear that shit back then, I was like, oh, okay, whatever, nerd, let's get fucking hammered. I was there, and I think part of the reason that some people really fucking blew up on me and like want to see me cancel at all costs is because I fucking snuck up on people, dude. I seemed like a dude, bro. I seemed like I was care fucking free. I seemed like, now I wasn't perfect, and like I said, I already struggled with women in the past. But I had some success because I had fucking friends. And I'm looking at these discussions now. Oh, dude, you have to have friends. Everybody I know who's in a relationship met their significant other through their friend groups. And it gets to this point where you're stressed out as a guy. It's like, fuck, I don't have friends. How do I make friends? How do I meet women? How do I, like, have a life? Why don't I have a life? Why have I been isolated for such a long time? And it's like, bro, you're experiencing something so much more deep, because the way that the NPCs are going to explain it, dude, you lost all your friends and you spend your time alone and you never get laid, bro, you're a complete fucking cringe loser. You know who's saying that, bro? That is one of the fucking molecules of samsara. That is an NPC of the fucking Veil of Maya spitting toxic at you, bro. Because you are having some sort of an awakening. And everything I can understand about awakenings is it just fucks your life, dude. I used to have a lot of friends. I used to be at the center of a maybe kind of like delusional, high-status group. We all played metal bands. We were all from Berklee College of Music. We were up and coming. We thought we were hot shit. But yeah, it was a sausage fest, which is part of the reason it was hard for me to get laid. But now I don't have that. I had a lot of friends, and we were all high status, or at least we thought we were. Now I don't have shit. I at least used to have like a fucking snowball's chance in hell of getting laid. Now people are saying, oh, dude, if you don't have friends, you're shit out of luck, man. Everybody I know who's in relationships met their significant other through being introduced from friends. And you're just, like I said, the automations within samsara are the ones feeding you this fear. You don't have friends, but why don't you have friends? You don't have friends because you started to have a spiritual awakening. You started to fucking think about the world more. You started to realize, oh, you know, now I'm talking to all these people online, and they're talking about how this is degenerate and that's degenerate. I think I want to have some conservative values. I think it is degenerate. I think smoking weed is kind of degenerate. I'm going to fucking quit smoking weed. I think drinking all the time is kind of degenerate. I'm going to quit fucking drinking. And now there's these articles out about Gen Z and how they don't drink. And it's like, well, you know, we don't want to drink the boomer poison. And it's like, oh, but drinking helps you be social. Dude, no wonder you're not getting laid. And it comes down to, like, how fucking important is it to get laid? Like, how important is it? And I know this fucking rant could change the whole fucking world if only I was getting laid, right? If only everybody knew that I was fucking a different girl every weekend. Everything I've said in this fucking video would hit the target. He's right. He gets laid, bro. It's like, if only I could be validated. But it gets to a point, guys, because you're fucking in muddy waters. I don't have friends anymore. I haven't been on a date since 2017. I haven't fucking been laid since 2015. And I am in the fucking dark. And you ask some Joe Schmo who never stopped partying, who never stopped smoking weed, who never stopped doing shroomy boomies with the bros, dude. Let's play it with 40 hands, bro. What's up, sweetie? You want to sip from my 40? Like, those are the kind of fucking people that are trying to make you feel like you're just such a complete fucking loser, dude. And holy shit, your life is like, you're a bottom of the barrel. 0 out of 100,000, dude. Because you're in between worlds. Because you're trying to get to where only the giants have gotten. The spiritual awakening alchemical process has started. And at the beginning of this, you're like, you're reading esoteric, occult books and studying theology and studying whatever and going down the rabbit hole, starting with Alex Jones, maybe leading all the way up to fucking whatever. I highly recommend this book, American Gnosis. I'm on the last 100 pages. Even if you're just a regular Christian, just to know about this shit. It goes over Samuel Ainwar. It goes over Miguel Serrano. It goes over this guy like Musis, who was like a math genius. He wrote the book The Lion's Path, and he wants you to meditate at certain points with all the planets. I mean, I just think if you want to be knowledgeable about this shit, kind of like Jay Dyer. Like, Jay Dyer is familiar with like elitists and technocrats and what have you, but he's an Orthodox Christian. Like, if you want to be familiar with this stuff and this symbolism, and it breaks down like neo-Gnostic themes in movies and classic literature, I highly recommend American Gnosis. I can't remember the name of the author. I'll put it in the description. But it's the best book that I've read in a long time. I've really been enjoying it. But at the beginning of your path, you put down the dude weed for a minute, you stopped drinking for a minute, you didn't have any friends at the moment, and you changed a little bit. You started watching more videos. And it doesn't have to be super deep. It could just be Alex Jones. It could just be David Icke. And for the first time in your life, you started thinking a little bit. And you said some shit that puts some normies off. It's like, dude, like, what, dude? Like, why don't you just fucking go get laid, man? Like, you were desperate for knowledge at one point. At one point, you were like, man, like, I really want to be in the know. I really want to be smart. I really want to be enlightened. That's a big change in momentum, bro. Just changing your desires. Just changing where you put your wants. Because before that, it was like, I want to party. I want to get hammered. I want to fuck that bitch. I want to fuck that bitch. I want to get laid. I want more money so I can get laid. But even focusing the want and the desire and the intention, like, I've never really thought about who was smart. Yeah, I remember that guy said he was high IQ. I wonder if I'm high IQ. I want to be smart. I want to be enlightened. I want to be an intellectual. I want to be in the know. I want to understand the mysteries. I want to know. I'm starting to realize, like, life seems kind of fucked up, and that kind of seems like bullshit, and these people kind of seem like liars, and I really, really, really want to know. You change your intention. You change your focus. 5 years later, 10 years later, you're fucking really close to figuring something out. You know more than you ever thought you would know. I personally think I know more than I desired to know. Like, I feel like I never could have imagined this, man. And in the months leading up to having my YouTube channel, I remember I was watching influencers and red pill content, whatever, just people who maybe, some of them were impressive, like Jay Dyer, and some of them were less impressive, like just kind of Joe Blow MGTOW. And I was like, man, how do these guys organize their thoughts so well? How do these guys, like, put themselves out there like this? I would be afraid to put myself out there like that, but I feel like I could do it. I feel like I could speak my mind. I feel like I could say things. And, yeah, my channel hasn't really made it to the great heights, but I'm in a lot different place than I was in the past, man. And I guess what it's getting at is you've made all kinds of progress toward, at one point, what you desired. You desired to know. You desired to unlock the mysteries. You started to know about the few and the many, the one and the many. You started to realize, like, there's the masses and masses of sheep, and then there's the few people in the know. Okay, according to this book, American Gnosis, that is a kind of Gnostic, that is a kind of Gnosis. There's metaphysical Gnosis, there's cosmological Gnosis, and then there's political Gnosis. It's a kind of political Gnosis when you realize this is all kind of a dog and pony show, and these people are fucking criminals, and these people are getting money from the same corporations and banks on both sides, and these people all got their hands in BlackRock, and that's a kind of Gnostic awakening. It's a kind of Gnosis. But the point is that you basically focused your intention off of having social success and on to answering the great philosophical questions of history and of our times. And you didn't realize, man, you said abracadabra, you rubbed the magic lamp, you said Candyman in the mirror 3 times. You're like, whatever, that was dumb, and then you walked away. You didn't realize the genie came out of the lamp. You didn't realize Candyman showed up in the mirror. You didn't realize when you said abracadabra, the fucking gate opened. And it changed your life. And you are on a ride, my friends, that most people are not on. That's why you're getting harassed by fucking shills. That's why you're on government watch lists. That's why you got people pretending to be you online, trying to make you look like a fucking idiot, because you are on a different ride for different kind of people, for a very small fucking percentage of the world. And women want guys who are plugged in to the fucking matrix. And it goes all the way back to my first video. Dude, I know a guy who's 5'7" and he slays. I know a guy who's 5'7" and he slays. He's a fucking idiot. He, I guarantee you, sounds exactly like how he sounded in high school. And he never had a deep fucking thought in his life. And he probably has like 85 IQ. And by the way, it's not all about IQ. You can have that's basically like the RAM speed or the memory speed in your brain computer, which allows you to learn more efficiently. I do think once you get to the higher levels of IQ, that's where the abstract thinking comes in. That's where the critical thinking comes in. That's more where philosophy comes in. Okay? Like the midwits are perfect for learning and not questioning. I've questioned my own IQ level a few times. I can tell you what, guys, it's fucking high enough, whatever it is, to be a critical thinker. Because my critical thinking has turned my world upside fucking down, and it has opened the gates, and it has unleashed absolute fucking chaos into my life. You know what one of my theories about my life is, guys? I was in Dragon Rouge. I was working with the Cliffothic fucking shells of the Cliffoth, whatever the fuck that means, opening Cliffothic gates and trying to talk to Lilith and Nama and all this weird shit. And I remember faintly reading the description of what this shit's supposed to do. It's like, well, tampering with the energies of this chaotic spheres, it's like the Jungian shadow. It's like looking directly into the fucking darkness. Religion is like, stay away, never go over there, never look in there. And then Dragon Rouge is like, let's fucking dive into the darkness that most people never go into. Like let's fucking open up these dark chaotic spheres. And what I remember it saying was like, it will unleash chaotic energy into your life that will absolutely fucking eradicate all sense of security. Friends, family, relationships, career, bye-bye. Oh my gosh, everybody that I grew up with fucking hates me, and everybody's trying to ruin my reputation constantly, and people are treating me like I'm an enemy. I feel like I'm in fucking hell. By the way, if you can't tell, I'm talking about my own experience. I'm just always hoping there's somebody else out there who can relate to it. Absolute fucking chaos hell was unleashed in my life. I had a Kundalini experience. I don't call it a Kundalini awakening because I don't know. I have a split tailbone. There was a Freemason on my YouTube or on my Facebook who was like, oh man, I wish I had a split tailbone. And I asked him about it. And he's like, oh, well, it means there's something with your root chakra where maybe it's easier for you to have a Kundalini awakening. I have the split tailbone. I had an experience while doing the fucking dragon ritual in Dragon Rouge one time where it felt like there was a heat in my spine. And if you watch videos about Kundalini awakenings online, people will say that they get fucking hospitalized and it sounds like a psychotic episode or something. I experienced something like that for like maybe 20 minutes. I felt sketched the fuck out, dude. It's like, maybe I should eat something. No, I feel like I'm going to throw up if I eat something. Maybe I should lay down. I don't feel good laying down. Maybe I should stand up. It doesn't feel good to lay down. It doesn't feel good to stand up. It doesn't feel good to eat. It doesn't feel good to not eat. I don't feel good. And it happened, like, I finished the dragon ritual thing, and it happened, and it started. And this is like, nobody can tell me anything about this. I can't ask Grok about this. Who the fuck am I going to ask about this? I'm the one to ask about it. I'm some sort of a teacher now. Like, I've experienced something that most people will never experience. And yeah, from like a Christian lens, it's like, well, it doesn't sound very good, does it, from a Christian lens? But now I'm in this weird place where it's like, now you've watched your Christian theological thing kind of wash away. Now you're feeling like you're more of like a Marcionite, which is a big fucking deal. Like, you know, it's like, oh, you're a Protestant, you're a Catholic, you're Orthodox, that's okay, we're all friends. I'm a Marcionite. No. That's a big deal. It's a big distinction saying that Yahweh of the Old Testament is not the omnipotent God, that he is the Platonic Demi Urge. You know, some people say he's evil, some people say he's not, he's just not God. That's a big deal. Christians say that that could be like Satanism. Okay? I don't see it that way. I've been down rabbit holes. I've had some sort of a fucking Kundalini experience. But finishing my thought about the dark fucking spears of the dark power of the cliff off, I feel like that's exactly what happened to my fucking life, dude. That shit fucking decimated my life. And from a material perspective, well, dude, you're a fucking loser. But I have experienced something. And I can't go up to people and be like, hey man, I think I had a Kundalini experience and I've opened I opened the Clifothic realm and I think I was supposed to open the Kabbalah realm, and people are like, I can't help you, bro. I have no idea, dude. I had the Kundalini experience and I opened the Clifothic realm and I don't think I was supposed to open this Sephiroth, but I opened that Sephiroth. I can't help you, bro. I can't help you, dude. I have no fucking idea what you're talking about. I'm just trying to be nice. You want my honest advice? Go to a fucking mental hospital and check yourself in. But I'm living it. But I'm like, okay, so everything in my life went to absolute dog shit, and everybody thought my friends were actually traitors, and I feel like a really high percentage of people that I've met in my life are narcissists, or they're on some sort of a dark triad spectrum. I've wrote a book about it now. Now what? Dude, you need to fucking like make friends and go to a bar, dude. And it's like, I'm not saying that there's no women in my future. What I have to tell myself, which I don't think is like, I have to just be like, just stop for a second. Stop with the shame. Stop with the guilt. Stop with the fucking feeling like shit and throwing pity parties. What do you think is the reality of sex and relationships? I think that sex is meant to be between partners. I think that fornication is fucking degenerate. And the entirety of me that wants to have fornication, wants to feel the pleasure, wants to get the fucking validation, and wants to walk around and be like, hey, guess what, everybody? I fucked a baddie. Because I know that that is currency in the fucking material world. I think the wheat is being separated from the chaff. I have very confusing views about the Bible at this point, to where it's like, well, I still think that there's prophecy in the Bible, but I don't put my trust in the mainstream institutions anymore. I think that Christ is the most important part of the Bible. There's three voices. Everything in the Old Testament, Jesus, and Paul. Jesus is number one. When it sounds like Jesus is at odds with the Old Testament, I'm going with Jesus. When it sounds like Jesus is at odds with Paul, I'm going with Jesus. That is a very simplified view of how I think in action I look as a Marcionite or a Gnostic. People say the Bible is contradictory. By the way, I've known this for a long time. I used this argument against atheists like 2 years ago. Atheists can't decide whether or not they're Gnostics or atheists. Is it that God doesn't exist, or is it that God is mean? I was going back and forth with an atheist the other day, and he's talking about, well, the Bible, you just manipulate things to fit it into your framework. So like there can be slavery, and so people can be stoned to death. And I was like, Jesus said, may he who is without sin cast the first stone. He's like, oh, what are you trying to say, that you don't believe in the Old Testament? I was like, I'm a Marcionite, bro. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, you can just look that up. And I actually think that for the first time in that fucking atheist life, and I've talked to a lot of atheists in my life, and I've seen their brick walls. They do not want to change their view. I got that guy thinking, bro. It's like, whoa, there's people out there who think that there's a reason that Jesus seems to contradict the Old Testament, because there's been a confusion because Jesus is not with that Yahweh. I think that guy might be fucking thinking some shit right now. Atheists like Marcionism is what I'm saying. They're open to it. They'll rethink things. They're so used to attacking the same shit. Like, oh, you love everybody, but you stone people, and God like murdered all the babies, and he murdered the 20,000 Jews in the desert. It's like, yeah, well, I'm to a point where I tried to cope with that. I tried to make sense of it, but I agree with you. I think that's contradictory at this point. I'm going with Jesus. I made a video a few years ago, follow Jesus into the desert. And that's still what I'm doing. And I think the desert that I'm in might have something to do with whatever the fuck I did when I was into Cliffothic, dark, Jungian magic. Whatever the fuck I did with that dragon shit created the desert that I'm in. And I'm going through a haze, and I think about, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm sex deprived. Am I going to be fucking homeless someday? Like, how bad is my life going to get? I see a faint caricature of Jesus waving me through, and I'm following him, man. Paul, I respect Paul. I even respect the Old Testament, and I still think you should know the Old Testament, and I still think you should know Paul. And honestly, like, Marcion accepts Paul. Marcion loved Paul. There's not really much of anything wrong with what Paul taught. It's just he's sketchy because he literally worked for the fucking Roman Empire. He used to beat the shit out of Christians, and he worked for the Roman Empire. So, he worked for the government. He's maybe the oldest honeypot ever. Oh, I had a vision of Jesus. Christianity's like this. I mean, Christianity was kind of built in the way that he framed it. But I don't really even, off the top of my head, see anything glaringly wrong with what Paul taught. I'm just saying, I have denied the inerrancy of Scripture, and I'm going with the inerrancy of Christ. That's where I'm at. I know that nobody asked. And I'm just telling you guys, like, you're along for the ride, even if you want to get off the ride. It's like, okay, you know what, I mean, and you can try. It's like, okay, because this is my advice if you want to start getting women. If you want to, like, make friends and go to the bar and start stacking fucking bodies, well, then just stop fucking watching interesting shit on the internet. And stop reading interesting books and basically try to go backwards. But that's really hard. And I think maybe a couple of times I've tried. It's like, dude, just go on this fucking Seth Rogen movie marathon. I've already had this stage in my life. I already smoked weed every day and fucking giggled. I already said, dude, let's fucking do shroomy boomies, dude. I already fucking did all that shit. I already surrounded myself with dude bros, and they were good people. And we had good times. I feel like I didn't have enough sex during those times. I feel like I could have. If I would have just went to UAA in Alaska and fucking broed out, would have been the best drummer there. It would have made all the fucking difference in the world. But it's over. And I switched my intention from, dude, I want to get laid and I want to make more money and I want to be famous so I can get laid and make more money. At some point, I switched my intention and I asked. I said, abracadabra. I said, please, God, teach me the secrets of the divine. Please teach me about the meaning of life. I want to know the mysteries. I want to know why the world is so fucked up. I want to know why I never fit in. I want to know. And it's like, oh, okay. And then you tried to move on with your life, and you don't realize that you got what you asked for. The gates opened up. God said, okay. Okay. And now you're in a world of fucking shit. If you want to make it easy for yourself, just fucking let it go about women. oh, I can't get a bunch of women to make my pee-pee feel good. Apparently some guy told me to kill myself on X is some sort of a celebrity. I called him out for it. He's like, you don't know who I am, bro? You don't know who I am, bro? And I was like, no, who the fuck is this idiot? Like, that was his response. Because, anyway, I did some digging. It's like, oh, apparently this guy, like, did a podcast with Rollo Tomasi once. He's a fucking out-of-touch boomer who's out of business. Because the red pill doesn't even work anymore. You don't know who I am, bro. Dude, you're on a different journey, guys. You're on a different fucking ride. And if you're not on that ride as much as I am, which I can pretty much guarantee you're probably not, but I think some of you are. I think some of these people are starting to find my channel. Get on the fucking ride, dude. Because the reality, guys, there is something to NoFap. The cringiest NoFap videos are like, dude, 10 days into NoFap, you get so many bitches. Bro, there is like ancient esoteric wisdom and knowledge regarding retention. According to Pedram Shojai, who wrote the book Rise and Shine, where I learned everything I know pretty much about Qigong, he says that's how you develop the light body. That's what they think in Taoism is how you fucking escape samsara. Okay? And it sucks for me because I'm basically a fucking Coomer, dude. Okay? I was fucking molested by my babysitter when I was 8 years old and she was 12. We fucking dry humped. She was 12. I wrote about it in my book. It's not really that big of a deal, but I think it fucked me up a little bit, dude. Like, I'm very hypersexual. Now I'm coming across all these people online who are like, healers have very high sexual energy. And I'm like, man, that sounds cringe. But I think it's fucking true. Because I think I'm a healer. And I know that I have high sexual energy. All the, like, new agey shit that people think sounds cringe, I think a lot of it is based off of something real, you guys. The West has fucking failed. Like, the biggest argument as a former warrior of Christianity who's pretty fucking good at debating every denomination that I stood behind, just being honest, I can tell you, like, one of the arguments that is at the forefront of the lines of mainstream Christianity is Christianity built the West. Take a good fucking look at the West today. You can say, well, take a good look at the East. The East has always been that way. The East didn't change that much, bro. The East didn't change that much. The West, we were building something. We were the fucking ants in the movie Ants who spend their whole lives digging towards something, and they realize at the end of the movie that they're digging towards the water supply so they can all get fucking drowned. And the military elite are standing above because they planned it and because they knew it the entire time. I think that's the fucking realest shit that's ever been in a movie ever. And they reveal that the wars are bullshit and they're for depopulation. It's all about depopulation in the whole movie. And people say that A Bug's Life is like the exact same way. Those movies came out around the same time. Dude, those movies is like the deepest revelation of the method hidden hand shit in movies, period. To live for the colony, to fight for the colony, to die for the colony. You're the ant that woke up, bro. You're the ant, like in Ants, you know, he wants to get with the queen, but you're a fucking worker drone. You're delusional, your head's in the clouds. Well, when you were stumbling outside of the fucking lines, and you started coloring outside of the lines, you learned some shit about the world. And now it's like, oh, I want to go back inside of the lines, and I want to have my friends again, and I want to go to the bar again, and la 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 la. Seth Rogen is so fucking funny, dude. I'm normal people, normal friends, normal. It's too late. It's too late. Maybe some of you guys can figure it out, but the reason you're not going to figure it out is because you're going to realize, like, I'm too smart. I'm too deep. I know too much. I've experienced too much. I've seen too much. I don't know what is on the other side of all this. But I know that part of why I haven't got there yet is because I keep going backwards. My advice, guys, is try to make some fucking sense of where you think your life is going. I made a video once, follow the trajectory. Well, you might need to create a trajectory, because that argument was kind of silly. It's like, you know, just because you did something once, that doesn't automatically mean it's like what you're supposed to be doing. But maybe you saw some evidence that something worked in the past. try to use that as a blueprint, maybe make a better blueprint. But I think the problem that men like us, like me, are facing is that you are on a different fucking roller coaster at a different theme park, my friend, and you keep going backwards, and you keep doubting yourself, and you keep walking around in circles, and you're not going down that fucking path. You're miles and miles down this path. You're like, oh, there's a rickety bridge. I don't know if I want to cross this rickety bridge. I'll just start walking back. Why am I not getting any girlfriends? Why am I not having any friends? Because you've already walked 10,000 miles in this direction, dude. And you might almost be there. But you got to cross that rickety-ass bridge. Because you know what's back there. There's 10,000 miles of fucking going backwards and unlearning what you've learned. So you got to cross that rickety-ass bridge. And then there's going to be a sand pit. And, oh, I don't want to go in the sand pit. I'll just go back over the rickety-ass bridge. You're too far, bro. I know I'm too far. But it's like, you know what? It's like the gif of John Travolta in Pulp Fiction. It's like looking around my wrecked ass fucking life that was like wrecked by clifothic dark energies. Like, it's like, it's not so bad, dude. It's not so bad, and whatever the fuck like demons have done to my life. But I'm to a point. Let me just pull a Band-Aid because I'm hesitant to tell you guys what I actually fucking believe. Because I don't even know if I believe it. But I'm just gonna spitball, and we're gonna wrap this video up before the hour mark. Because clearly this video is some shit. I believe that the East is right. In the past, I've said that I believe that Christianity is right. Generally, I don't know if it's Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't know if it's Mormons, I don't know if it's Catholics or Protestants or Baptists. I've kind of, worked my way around Christianity trying to find some sort of a truth. Now, it's like, it's not that I generally think that the Christianity is right somehow. Now I generally think that the East is right somehow. And I think that Christ is a part of that. I think that Christ is at the center of that. I wouldn't discount that, Krishna or Vishnu or something could be like a different avatar of Christ. Or Christ could be an avatar of something like that. But let me just keep going. Let me just not get tangled up. This is no apologies. Just fucking mask off, letting you guys know how I see things at this point. It's like The Matrix. The Matrix is Samsara. Samsara, or the Veil of Maya. There's a heavy-ass fucking gent metal deathcore band called Veil of Maya. Check them out if you haven't. Kind of like Born of Osiris. Sumerian, Born of Osiris, Veil of Maya. All these people are talking about Eastern shit like they fucking know something. I think a lot of them don't. They're just really good at polyrhythms and blast beats. So am I, by the way. Meshuggah is from Hebrew. Meshuggah has a song called Demi Urge. All of these fucking gent bands like I'm so smart. Like all those bands that sound like that. Meshuggah, Demi Urge, Born of Osiris, Veil of Maya. What the fuck do these guys think they know, dude? What do they think they know? Because I'm like them, and I'm playing the same shit they're playing, even though I couldn't fucking stay in a band. I was in bands kind of like that way fucking forever ago, before I even figured any of this shit out, dude. I don't know if it's a simulation. They say simulation, you say Matrix. A lot of assumptions come with that. A lot of, perceived understanding comes with that. It's more like a dream. It's more like an illusion. It's like you think this is real life, but there's something more real beyond this life. And that goes into Platonism. That goes into dualism. That goes into the idea that, your soul is more pure than your body and it goes beyond this body. And yeah, I used to learn from Southern Israelite. I used to think I was like him. He's basically a Jehovah's Witness. He's a Judaizer. He is the polar opposite. So I guess in layman's terms, it's like, well, he thinks everything wrong with Christianity is that it's Platonist, it's like Neoplatonism and Eastern mysticism, and I've heard him say it a number of times. It's like, these people, when they don't Judaize, and they just do what Christ says, it becomes full-on Gnosticism. It's Gnosticism, that's bad. And I'm like, well, this guy's clearly some sort of a fucking fed Freemason cult leader, and an asshole, and he never quotes Christ. He tries to mystify you and impress you with all of his, like, oh man, I'm never going to get through all these Bible citations. He's probably right. Just look at them and ask yourself, are any of them from the Gospels? Are any of them quotes from Jesus? Never. Never! He never cites Jesus, bro. And I can account for that. It's because Jesus is a different voice from Paul. And Paul is a different voice from the Old Testament. Jesus is the one. People want to talk about bashing the babies' heads over the rocks and the tribalist system of the Old Testament. I'm talking about the universalist system from Christ. Whoever is without sin may cast the first stone. It's like, well, that sounds cucked. That doesn't sound based. How am I supposed to be a fucking crusader, dude? How am I supposed to be based in trad if I do what Christ said? Because it's tied to karma. Because it's like Jainism. Because it's like fucking Hinduism. Because it's Eastern. Because this is all fucking samsara. Because this is all Maya. Because Maya tricks you into, oh, I need to fuck guys over, be an alpha dude, bro. And, oh, you're fucking manly and I can beat your ass, dude. So you can fuck bitches, so you can lose your seed, so you can sin, so you can fornicate. Sin is a very similar concept to karma, perennialism, the perennial philosophy. The perennial philosophy is in Christianity, and it's in Hinduism and Eastern, the East, Platonism. There are these divine truths that are sprinkled all over all these religions, and when you fucking follow where everything seems to be going, follow the straight and narrow path to the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Be in the world, but not of it. Why do you not want to be of the world? Because it's fucking samsara, bro. Because this is a big fucking trap. I think maybe the soul trap shit, the don't go into the light shit is kind of stupid, and that's not really a part of it. I'm not really worried about like what happens when I die, bro. Getting reincarnated isn't really that big of a deal. Getting reincarnated means you didn't figure it out yet. But I do tend to lean toward you keep getting reincarnated until you figure it out and ascend to the kingdom of heaven / nirvana, because that is what Krishna referred to nirvana as the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is within you. And I used to cringe at this shit, but it's like, bro, eternal punishment for, like, this whole original sin argument from the Old Testament, and Protestants love to go on and on and on about it. I think the reason Protestants love to go on and on about it so much is because they're not doing anything about it like Catholics are. Catholics at least try to hold themselves accountable. It's like, if I die in a state of mortal sin, I'm going to go to fucking hell. And when you actually try to live like a traditional Catholic, you are basically taking part in asceticism. You are actually on this kind of Eastern spiritual path as a Catholic because you're actually trying to remove the sin from your life. Protestants have created the new system that's separated from the perennial philosophy. Jesus did all of it for me. And I always say, why did Jesus tell you how to live? Don't you think you should do what Jesus says? Well, I'm going to have a transformation through Christ after I believe in him. Whatever, dude. It's semantics. Like, did you have the transformation through Christ? I don't care if the faith came first. The bottom line is, are you living that sin-free life that Jesus taught? And what Jesus taught about sin is, it is very difficult. For I tell you that you have committed adultery in your heart when you merely look upon a woman with lust. Why did he say that? Because there's other things that you can do. There's other things that you can do than completely conquering lust. It's very difficult to completely conquer lust. You should conquer lust. You should fight to do that. But more important than all of these teachings, the most important of these teachings, I say to you, quote from Christ, treat others the way that you want to be treated. Judge lest not, yea, be judged. Don't be a fucking narcissist. For not everyone who says to me, Lord, 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 shall be saved. I will say, turn away from me. I never knew you. Narcissist Christians who gaslight, smear campaigns, who fucking sign up for tea apps so you can, like, oh, this guy didn't pay for my lunch. He's a fucking idiot. Like, people who sow dissent against their brothers behind closed doors. Some of that wisdom's in the Old Testament as well. Now, I have a lot of explanations for why the Old Testament says the things that it does. it could be borrowed from pagan religions. See, this kind of like zeitgeist thing that Christianity borrowed from pagan religions, it's a lot more true and likely and easy to prove for the Old Testament. For Christ, nope, I've tried. I got rid of my bias and I said, let's pretend that I don't give a shit about the Bible and let's try to prove that, the 12 crucified saviors is true. It's not. It's bullshit. Osiris is not that much like Christ. AI said that Osiris is the most like Christ, but it's still far-fetched. Jesus was not stolen or borrowed from anything. He was there. He really taught what he taught. People tried to create a death cult in his image, just like Nietzsche said, but he was really there. Now, the Old Testament, well, you can find scholarly evidence that some of the wisdom from Proverbs and from Psalms and from the Ten Commandments is in the Egyptian Book of the Dead and other books and other wisdom of the time. And you'll hear scholars say, oh, yeah, well, all the Proverbs and Psalms really is the gathered wisdom of the time. It also has to fall apart. It also has to fall apart under scrutiny. Not necessarily completely. I don't have the kill shot. I'm not interested in having the kill shot. I still like the Old Testament. I still pray the Psalms. Lord, create a clean heart in me, O Lord. Create a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. Restore unto me the joy of the salvation, and uplift me with thy free spirit. I say that every single night. I still have Psalms memorized. But Christ is the one. Christ is the one. He was some sort of an avatar of the real God, of what Marcion calls the alien God, the true God. And this life, just like Jesus said, he said, give away your shit, follow me. The most important thing is that you show your love for one another, that you're good to people, because you're stopping the karmic cycle. I feel like Jainists take it like too far. They have a broom in their path so they don't step on amoebas. But they got the right idea. Man. Touch nothing but the lamp in the Cave of Wonders. Because everything else is just samsara. Everything else is just a distraction. Maybe it's not even that profound. It's like, that's not even really that deep. You're just saying that we're in the Matrix, bro. Everybody fucking says that. Well, it's the reality. This life does not matter. Does that mean that you're up shit all over yourself and you don't try to get anywhere? No, if you want to have any comfort in life, you're going to need to try to get somewhere. If you want to experience love, you need to try to get somewhere and make that happen. But what I'm telling you is that most of the people that you get advice from, and you're probably in that place like me, where it's like, why does everybody's advice sound like insults and gaslighting, and it's not even fucking advice at all? Because you're waking up, dude, and you're realizing that everybody is a part of samsara. They have a soul somewhere, but it's completely suppressed. It's completely fucking suppressed. Whatever that fucking thing was, with the kundalini, people will try to say it's a demon. I think that was my soul. I think that was something real. I think I was a fucking NPC before that shit happened, dude. It's hard to realize you're actual conscious. It's hard to fucking wake up. And guess what? Women, for the most part, the base material women, the kind you're going to take home from a fucking bar because you played the games the right way, they don't want a spiritually awakened guy. I've said enough. Shout outs to anybody who made it this far. This is the real fucking deal, man. This is what you signed up for at one point. You put your intention and your desire on, I want to know. And you got what you asked for. You got to cross the rickety-ass bridge. You got to go through the fucking sand pit. You got to keep going that way, bro. Yeah, the hookups and the women and the bullshit and the friends and the parties are back there in your past with who you used to be. But you're evolving, man. The evolution has started. The alchemy has started. You've become something greater. There's no going back. And in reality, it's good for you to retain your seed. That might be how you make your light body. That might be how you fucking overcome all this bullshit. But you're supposed to have a ride or die bitch, guys. You're supposed to fucking get married. You're supposed to have one woman. That is true across many religions and faiths and beliefs and what the fuck ever. God bless you, my friends. See you on the next one.